Anyway,
the three names that were bantied about by Brian Kelly was Tyree, Aaronsberger, and Zeke Correll. Apparently, were unavailable.
He said back spasms were the issue with Aaronsberger. I didn't hear what he said was the problem with Zeke Correll.
Yeah, but he said those three, they're hopeful that they'll be back, whatever that means. So,
sometimes I wonder if that was really he was out,
or it was just kind of a smoke screen, just
to protect him. I mean, in this instance, I'm actually not opposed to that because this is an instance where, let's say, Zeke Correll has been battling some injuries. He could have played.
Right.
But you know what? He's getting benched. So instead of him being benched per se, it's he's got some injury. He's going to be out, and you protect him that way. But I'm sure he also, he was ruled out right before the game, so I am sure he had an injury. But it's
right
something that he's been playing with for a while.
And you also have to keep in mind that you don't necessarily want Zeke Correll to just go into the tank because he could very well be the starting center next year.
Correct.
Okay, and
he should be battling for it for sure.
Yeah, and so people, it's not like we're just going to discard Zeke Correll and call it a day. Like there has to be a little bit of massaging, and I'm not saying that. You know what I mean? Like it's not like we're never going to hear from Zeke Correll again. That's all I'm going to. That's what I'll say.
So some other things, Vince, from the press conference. Brian Kelly talked about the offense. And people are asking him about what it looked like, and he made a comment that sounded very familiar to what we've talked about these last couple of days, which he said, it's not so much about what plays you call, it's about tempo and he talked about the run game was built around who's in the box. That is code for RPOs, right? And so they ran a lot of RPOs. They pulled and threw on 8 RPO plays. They handed off on several other RPO plays. So adding that to the offense made the offense look better. The quarterbacks went 7 of 8 throwing on RPOs, which you take away the non-RPO throws, they were in the mid to low 60s completion percentage. You add the RPOs in, the quarterbacks because one of those completions was Tyler Buckner.
Sure.
You add those to the mix, and all of a sudden they're 7 of 8 for 66 yards. They also had several runs off RPOs. And so that was a big part of the game. It was nice to hear him say that. It's a little frustrating, though, because, why did it take you 7? I guess this was my response is he said, we're trying to find what works for our offense and how does this do it and all this other kind of stuff. But it's like this. How did you not know this before the season? We've been talking about this since June. Why did it take you until the 7th game of the year to figure out?
And he's like, well, if we had some preseason games, maybe we would have learned them a little sooner. Yeah. What are you talking about, man?
That's what fall camp is for. But
I did not like that
look
response.
At your personnel, and how do you not look at what worked in the spring?
Right.
How do you not look at what worked against Florida State and say, hey, this is who we need to be. This is what we've been calling for the summer. That frustrated the heck out of me, but I don't want to focus on that today.
Right.
The thing I want to focus on is the comment he made of, you're going to see a lot more of this. At the end of the day, we can complain and bitch for hours about why did it take you 7 games to figure out what we've been telling you since, I don't know, the 2018 season, but especially about this particular team since the spring. Why did it take you 7 games? We can complain about that. At the end of the day, they seem to be embracing it. Now, hopefully, Brian Kelly allows Tommy Rees to do this for 60 minutes and doesn't put the shackles on him in the second half when they get a lead, which is something he's been doing for however many years. But the key for me is it sounds from what Brian Kelly said that this is just they finally embraced and said, this is who we got to be this year. That's the important part that I want to focus on about this matchup, because that's how this Notre Dame team can combat them. Look, you can't play clock North Carolina to death. Not this team. This team's not capable of that. You can't do that against this team. You've got to be able to score, and you have to be able to, you can control the clock, but you can't do it with your run game. You've got to do it with your whole offense. And that was the key for me. And then moving forward, same against Virginia, same against Stanford. This is who you have to be. And it was encouraging to hear him talk about that.
Agreed. And again, the frustrating part is that it took the bye week for them to self-scout and realize this. I think that part's frustrating. But again, the bottom line is they're going to do it from here on out. And I thought it was funny the way he mentioned I don't know if it was his post-game. I think it must have been his post-game press conference. oh wow, we were kind of shocked and you know, it may be surprising to all of you that he's better in the shotgun and getting the ball out quick because that's not how he grew up, meaning that's not what the Wisconsin offense was like. Jack Cohn then said, he came out after Brian Kelly's like, yeah, that's what I did all through high school, and I was real comfortable with it. Like,
yeah, and he look, and it's not like he didn't ever run the shotgun at Wisconsin. I mean,
right.
This is why we said back in February and March that we felt Jack Cohn could execute this, and this offense.
Correct. Yes.
And so it was frustrating. But again, I don't want to focus on that because it's frustrating. What I want to focus on is the fact that he's embraced it.
And then we're moving forward.
And they seem to have, at least for a game, and I hope they continue to embrace that. Hey, Kyle, two things are true. Three things are true, in my opinion. If used correctly, Jack Cohn's your best quarterback. If used correctly. If not used correctly, he's your third best quarterback. But if used correctly, he's your best quarterback. They used him correctly for the most part on Saturday night. And some of that was the things that Brian Kelly – because you heard Brian Kelly talking about today what we talked about last night, which is USC ran a completely different defense against them than what they had prepared for. And so I thought they handled that really well. I did. And so to me, that's one truth. Truth number two is Tyler Buchner has to play. Truth number three is, but you have to use him correctly as well. With Jack Cohn to really get your quarterback operation going. This was the best we've seen them do that, where it wasn't Tyler starting a series per se, except the series they took over deep in their territory. I believe he started that series late in the game because it was run out the clock mode, that's fine. That's a good time for him. But it was clearly part of the script that on that moment they were going to run Tyler Buchner in the game.
Right.
On that second series.
Clear.
It's the second series.
It's very
clearly because what a script is, just so people who don't understand, usually teams will script somewhere between 10 to 20 plays. Right. Like the magic number for everyone who follows what everyone else does is 15.
Right.
I've been in games where it's been 10. I've been in games where we kind of went with 20 because we wanted to really focus on some different things. 20 can be a little much. 10 can be a little less. It just depends on the game. But usually it's 10 to 15 plays or 10 to 20 plays you'll script, meaning this is the calls. Right. Yep. I mean, it's literally the script is written on your play sheet. On first down, we're calling this. On second, and then you have your situations that will take you out of it. Right. So if your defense forces a turnover and you get the ball at the 8-yard line, you're not coming out empty 4 verts. If that was on your next play on the script, right? At least you shouldn't if you're a good coach, right? True. So you'll have those situations where if you get in 4th and 1. You may say, okay, hey, we have our 4th and 1, game plan. We're going to go to that and then get back on the script. So there are always circumstances that can take you out for a play or a series. Again, the red zone situation. But you kind of have your script, and it's formation, it's motion, it's personnel,
all of it,
play call. The only thing that changes is depending on the hash. We may have called it, trips right. And we're going to run this, but the ball's in the right hash, because it's a field play or a boundary play.
Right.
So it was very clear on that second series, they were still on their script. Now, a script is especially good if you want to push the tempo because everybody knows what's coming because you've actually practiced that script during the week in that order. And so the players know they have it in their scouting report. They know this is the script. This is what we're going with. So it's easier to kind of push the tempo because guys know once you make that call from the sideline, oh, yeah, here we go. This is what we practiced all week, right? It was obvious that Buchner going in was part of the script because as soon as that one play was over, Vince, you saw it. Buchner runs on and Cohn runs off.
It was fast.
And it happened immediately.
Yeah. Yep.
And then as soon as
we hadn't seen it that way all season.
Exactly. And as soon as Buchner completed that second pass, it was just as immediate that they did it back. And so clearly they had that game plan. So again, we can focus on it should have figured this out earlier. We knew this back then. I don't care, right?
Yeah, it's all true, but it doesn't matter.
This is where we are. And I'm happy that at least today, now this could all be a smoke screen for North Carolina and they're going to come out in 13 personnel all game. But it sounded like today that Brian Kelly is like, hey, get ready for more of this. Okay.
I hope so.
Sure.
Yeah. I was already having like an average day, and then you're like, yeah, they're going to come out against North Carolina 13 person. I'm like, oh, God, come on.
I'm saying it could be opposite, but Brian Kelly didn't say that. He did say, however, that they're going to keep using Michael Carmody at tight end. So So it'll clearly be part of the package. But that was the encouraging thing for me, is it sounded like he was saying this is here to stay for this season.
Every dog finds his tail eventually, and this is what has happened, and he found it, so let's move on. Like, that's great. I don't care how we got here, but we're here, and everything he said today concerning the offense was encouraging, and I love it, and if they can build on it, then this is going to be a great second half, and that's how I feel about it. So
we got a big super sticker from Daniel Wade. Thank you, Daniel, very, very, very much for that, even though Daniel's a little bit more paranoid about the triple option than I am. And let's not forget, too, that every Navy team that beat a Notre Dame team was a good Navy team that beat a Notre Dame team. This is not a good Navy team.
No.
The last time Notre Dame lost to Navy was in 2016. That was a 4-8 Notre Dame team and a 9-win Navy team. Prior to that, it was 2011, correct, Vince?
Yeah, I think so.
That was an 8-win Notre Dame team. That was the only. I guess that would be the only. Except no, Notre Dame beat them in 2011. It was 2010.
Okay.
Because Bryan Kelly's only lost to Navy twice. It's 2010 where they lost to Ricky Dobbs. Remember that Ricky Dobbs quarterback. That was a 9-win Navy team. Notre Dame smoked them in 11, smoked them in 12. 13, it was a close game. I believe trying to look for the score now. It was a close game, 38-34. That was a 9-win Navy team that Notre Dame beat. 2014, Notre Dame beat by 10 an 8-win Navy team. 2015, Navy was 11-2, and Notre Dame beat them by 17. 2016, Notre Dame, who went 4-8, lost by a point.
Right.
To a 9-5 Navy team. 2017, Notre Dame beat Navy and by a touchdown. That was a 7-win Navy team. 2018, Notre Dame beat a 3-10 Navy team by 22 in a game that wasn't that close. Navy scored a bunch late to make it that close.
Is that the one that was in Ireland?
No, that was the one in San Diego.
Okay.
The one in Ireland was 2012.
Gotcha.
They were supposed to play in Ireland in 2020, but
last year.
And then 2019, Notre Dame beat Navy by 32. That was an 11-win Navy team. This is a 1-6 Navy team.
Right.
They are terrible.
Right. And you can be afraid of the triple option all you want, and I get it. Look, I cover a triple option team every Friday night for high school, okay? Mm-hmm. They're really good against teams that are on par with them athletically, that kind of thing, well coached, whatever. When they go up against a team that is far superior from an athletic standpoint, they're bigger, faster, stronger, they struggle. That's the same thing with Navy. Okay, they're gonna compete in the American Athletic Conference for the most part because they have similar guys and similar. Against Notre Dame, it's just for the most part. Okay, Notre Dame is going to have bigger, faster, stronger guys, and they're going to be able to compete better.
And that Cincinnati Navy game that everybody says was a close game, it was 27-10 going into the fourth quarter, and Navy's last touchdown to make it a 7-point game came with 50 seconds left in the game.
Right.
Cincinnati was not at fear of losing that game.
It was a good game
losing that
until
game.
Halftime.
Right. And Cincinnati was playing terrible up in that first half of the game. So,
I agree.
Anyway, so that's kind of my that's my thoughts on that. And Cincinnati didn't have 300 yards of offense. Didn't even have 300 yards of total offense in that game.
Yeah, their offense is not good.
Right.
And the defense struggles against athletic teams.
Right.
So
and Navy had given up 400 yards against Memphis and SMU. They give up 9 yards of play to Memphis. Anyway, but I appreciate that super sticker very, very much.
Yeah, no doubt.
Last thing is, Vince, he was asked a question about Kane Madden from someone who talked about it as if, like, you didn't listen to it live, but the question was asked in a way of like, hey, Kane Madden seems to have figured it out and played really well.
What?
And then Bryan Kelly answered it like, yeah, he's kind of.
That's like putting a ball on the tee for Bryan Kelly. If you're going to ask him it that way, I did not
understand that at all. Like, are we just missing something? I mean, like, I'm honestly asking this. Is anybody in the chat that's watched Kane Madden? Like, honestly, are we being? I have to. I mean, because the person who asked the question is someone who I respect, someone who I know breaks the games down.
Really? You're going to have to tell me who that is.
It was Tim Priester. Right.
Oh.
So again, everybody knows I have a great deal of respect for Tim.
Me too.
And so the question was kind of like not like a pro Kane Madden comment, but like Tim seems to have watched the film and thought that Kane played well. And so I don't know what I'm missing. And this isn't a comment about Tim. Mike, the question was fine. I mean, your job's not to go up there and just crush every kid that you're talking to. The
No.
question was fine. It was kind of a favorable Kane Madden question. But then Brian Kelly was like, "Oh, he's playing really well. He's more comfortable. He
said he's been playing freer, faster, and more physical, possibly because of the early expectations.
He has been playing more physical. Playing well. I will say that Kane has been playing more physical. He has, but the freer and the other part,
he's real free because he hardly hits anybody.
So, I'm gonna push back on that. I think that's an hyperbolic statement that to me, look, I could point to you 7 or 8 plays on Saturday night where Kane Madden came off and hit somebody hard and got movement. I can.
Okay.
It's just that.
Out of how many?
So to say he never hits anybody, I think.
Okay. Well, never is a strong word,
but I think that's an unfair statement, and we have to be careful about that because we are.
That's fine. But I guarantee you, I could find twice as many plays where he hit nobody.
I get, and we talked about that last night. I'm not arguing with you about that, but I do think we need to be careful that we don't become like just the Kane Madden haters, right? So when you make a comment like he doesn't hit anybody, he needs to get credit for the fact that he does play physical when he hits people. But just because you're playing physical doesn't mean you're playing well. I don't think he's playing freer. I think that part of the comment was confusing to me because I think he looks uncertain of what he's doing. Like you talked about the pass pro where he just kind of stares outside as there's no one to block and someone's running inside of him, like Jarrett Patterson needed that help. That doesn't look like someone who's playing free. That looks like someone who doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't know what he
looks lost.
Looks lost. Yeah.
He looks lost.
So I didn't understand that. And so, I mean, if honestly, if there's someone that I love this comment, this is awesome. This is great, Searcher Green. This is awesome comment. He is so good. The D-line runs away from him, so he has no one to block. I mean, maybe that's it.
Yeah,
maybe that's it. I mean, he's obviously being sarcastic, I think, there. But that confused me a little bit. So I'm actually, because of who asked the question, I'm actually going to go watch the game again later tonight and just try to have an open, objective mind about how.
Okay, I'm interested to see what you come up with. I really am. I really am.
Because like I said, I do respect Tim.
I do too. I do too.
Tim doesn't ask those kind of questions if he doesn't think that that's what he believes. So I'm going to watch it again, and I'm going to try as best I can to kind of keep an open mind. But I've watched it 3 times now, and I don't see it. I see about 5 or 6 plays where I thought, like you said, Vince, when he can just come off and down block inside, boy, he can push people.
Exactly.
He can.
Exactly. I
but
agree
not
with
many
that.
teams allow you to do that. And that's where I thought USC's game plan was flawed. You know, Coach Kelly talked about how because they came out and they did so many different things that there was – but see, USC didn't attack out of that. That's what was so confusing. Like USC line up in a 3-man front, and they didn't attack at all. They had a very passive game plan. And I thought the fact that they were able to throw the ball as well as they did, because against a passive – when I say passive, I'm not saying it in a critical manner. I mean it's more like a, hey, we're going to drop and we're going to try to take away your pass game. We're going to try to force you to beat us with the run. And Notre Dame stuck with that. I mean, Notre Dame could have done some things where they put multiple guys, tight ends on the field today. They're going 3 down, 3-3-5. Let's hammer them. But Tommy Rees stuck with the pass game, and did some mixed up his concepts. He mixed up the horizontal and vertical concepts. Ran some screens, because there's 2 ways a screen can work. One is a team is too aggressive and you throw the screen behind them. The other way is teams are too passive. You get the screen out and then you get some lead blockers out there. I thought he did a great job of that, but it was one of those things where they didn't really attack. Most teams are going to attack more than what we saw from USC. I didn't understand that part of their game plan, but the whole thing was just a little bit of a confusing thing for me. I'll be honest with you. It was confusing. Anything else from the press conference, Vince, that you want to chat about? I know there's one thing that you read.
I want to go back and listen
here because I missed like 5 minutes of it, and he talked about that. And
I want to go back and listen to the context before I say anything, because I don't want people to take it the wrong way. So
we'll make sure we don't take it the wrong way.
Exactly. So I want to go back and listen, but maybe we'll talk about it tomorrow, depending on if it's what I think it is.
Maybe we'll start off with right. We'll start off with that before we go.
Yes, absolutely.
So it's a big week, Vince, and obviously we're going to have a lot to talk about this week when it comes to breaking down this team. We're going to have a lot to talk about when it comes to this matchup. This is a huge matchup. To me, this is one of 2 teams left in the schedule that can beat Notre Dame. If no, like every team, even Navy, can beat Notre Dame if Notre Dame goes out there and turns it over 5 times, right?
Sure.
Stanford can beat Notre Dame if Notre Dame doesn't play their game, right?
Yeah, that's football.
There's every team on the schedule can beat Notre Dame if Notre Dame doesn't show up and that team plays out of their mind, like Georgia Tech. If Georgia Tech and North Carolina played again a week after Georgia Tech stomped them, North Carolina probably does the same thing to them in return. It's what I love about college football. If Kansas and Oklahoma had a rematch this weekend, Kansas would win by at least 50.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
But that's what I love about college football. So this is one of the 2 games left where that team is at least dangerous enough to where it's not going to take a lot of Notre Dame mistakes for them to potentially beat Notre Dame.
Right.
And yes, Saturday was good, but Saturday wasn't like, oh, they've arrived. They still only scored 31 points against a team that doesn't have a great defense. I like a lot of things I saw. There's things that got to get cleaned up. But if you don't clean those things up against North Carolina, it makes it a little bit dangerous. And last year, the other thing too is when you lost Kyle Hamilton last year, you still had Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah.
Yeah, good point.
You don't have him this year. So I think that's kind of and Patrick Barnes makes a great point. Yes, absolutely, Patrick. I mean, I still believe this. If Notre Dame and Cincinnati played a week later, Notre Dame wins by 10 because they don't. I mean, think about how many dumb, bad, game-changing mistakes Notre Dame made in that game. Turning receivers loose, fumbling kickoffs, an interception from your freshman quarterback. They returned deep into territory. You gave them 10 points, and yet still Notre Dame is a stop away from getting the ball back. Actually, they did get the ball back once, down 17-13 with a chance to take the lead. And then, you made more mistakes, and then they go down and score.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, I mean,
you're not going to convince me otherwise.
That's what I love about it.
Yeah,
that's what I love about it. And so that's what I love about this game. But North Carolina and Virginia are the 2 teams right now that have me most concerned because they have really, really good college quarterbacks. Like really, Brennan Armstrong is as dynamic right now in the passing game as there is in the country. And he's spreading. I mean, it's not like he's got like Randy Moss to throw to, right? He's got 5, 6 guys. He's just going to spread the ball around. Sam Howell does a great job of spreading the ball around. These are 2 really good football teams. Now, good football teams from the standpoint of their quality. They're not great. They're not teams that are going to go be playing in New Year's Six bowls. They're quality teams that if you don't bring it, they can beat you. And